Preludes 11 has finally dropped, bringing tougher enemies, new systems and a few surprises that made some player double check their damage numbers. Here's a quick rundown of where to find the new stuff, how to get it and how these systems actually work. If you have jumped in, met a random patrol and thought, wait, why am I only hitting for 1 damage? You are not alone. Some players won't feel a difference right away, it really depends on their build, so here's what's actually happening and how to adapt. Armor in Soulframe works very simply. It's a flat value subtracted directly from your damage. So if your sword swing does 100 and the target has 60 armor, you only deal 40 damage. Before this patch, enemy armor values rarely broke past 30 points, meaning even mid-range weapons could still deal damage comfortably. Now though, armor values get dangerously close to triple digits, close enough that even solid weapons start feeling weak. If your weapon's base damage falls below the enemy's armor, you will see a grayed out bar with crossed swords. That means your hits will be reduced to just 1 point of damage. And that's why weapons that used to feel average but fine suddenly feel like you are smacking enemies with a wet towel. To break through that kind of armor, you will need something that hits hard enough to overshoot it. Ideally, a strike or ability that deals several times the target's armor value in one blow. For example, a fully upgraded Galathan still lands over 100 damage even with 80 points shaved off per hit. Meanwhile, the freshly nerfed Arrow Hail as well as Orbit Blades and most short swords can't reach those numbers anymore unless they are heavily buffed. So what can you actually do about it? First, use slow, heavy hitting weapons. Spears are a strong pick. They also can be thrown, often landing 300 plus damage hits that comfortably exceed armor values. Second, leverage pacts that amplify damage. Tethran's Fellust or Ode Tempest Astrosphere can buff even weaker weapons, while Siren's Backstabs or Bromius Rump Thumps still deliver huge bursts. Third, upgrade magic weapons with consecutive attack stacking joineries. They need a few shots to ramp, but once active they hit extremely hard. And last, equip a rune, more on that in a moment. There are totems that reduce armor per hit, but if you hope that means fast weapons were back in business, sadly no. Their reductions don't stack, so an 8-point armor reduction only adds about 8 points of base damage versus armored foes. Cute bonus doesn't solve the problem. The one mechanic that ignores all of this, smites. Armor doesn't affect them at all, so smite builds are still as strong as ever. The old 5-person smite chance mode is gone, but it's been replaced by a 5-person smite chance squirrel totem you can farm and upgrade to restore that uptime. So yes, arrowheads and orbit blades might barely scratch enemies now, but they still trigger massive chains of smites. Grab a spear, spin up your orbit blades before diving in, and you will still watch those souls fly toward you, just like before. Now let's talk about totems and their bigger siblings, runes, the two major new systems introduced in this update. Totems can be obtained from almost any wild living animal. There are two main ways to collect them, either by freeing animals from cages or by using a spirit site, the Q key, and then left clicking on a creature while within about 15 meters. When you do this, the animal gets dramatically lifted into the sky, helpless and bound to your will, while you perform a short rhythm based minigame that's basically you forcing it, with love of course, to surrender a splinter of its soul for eternal servitude. If you see unsigned notes on the musical lines, they are meant to throw you off. Those are notes that don't display a number. You will need to press the key matching the line they are on. For example, press 3 when it's on the 3rd line. If you still play them correctly, you will be rewarded with extra currency for the effort. If you succeed, you will collect a type of animal soul currency, which is used to upgrade your captured spirits, your soul gallery, so to speak. After that, the creature instantly decides it loves you and wants to cuddle. A perfect real-life example of how to treat living beings if you ever want something from them. Just a warning though, you will need a lot of these soul currency later to upgrade your totems. Once you have gathered a few, right-click any of your weapons, main hand or sidearm, and you will see the new Magic menu. Instead of the old mode system, it now has 3 slots, 1 defense, 1 offense and 1 utility. Each animal totem upon obtaining it also shows a small weapon icon, which tells you which weapon type it works with. So instead of having one generic rabbit mod, you now need to find the right totem for each weapon class, swords, bows, magic weapons and so on. Every totem has 3 possible stats, but only 1 can be active depending on which slot you assign it to. You can upgrade totems up to 3 times per spending the soul currency you earned from enchanting animals. So far, some totems stand out while others are forgettable. The smite chance increase from the squirrel is just as broken as it was back in the mode system, an obvious pick. Another standout is the slow movement effect from the duck, which can be slotted to enhance Flyblade's orbit attacks and also to buff the bow's arrow hails. It actually works better than a lot of dedicated crowd control abilities. Let your Flyblades hit often enough and enemies will basically freeze in place or at least move in slow motion. Attack speed on magic weapons, also from the squirrel, is another strong option. Everything else so far has been more of a nice to have than a must pick. And keep in mind, totems only affect weapon stats and combat properties. Pacts don't use them yet. They are still governed entirely by virtues. Now on to runes. Runes are basically damage infusions. They add an elemental buff to your weapon that activates whenever you trigger a smite, which of course makes the smite squirrel combo even stronger. There are 3 runes that can be farmed from the new sub-bosses. Alka's Breath fits into bows, Arcstorm works with magic weapons and flyblades, and Everflame fits into melee weapons. Equipping a rune also unlocks an extra magic slot. For example, Alka's Breath grants an additional utility slot, meaning you could run 2 smite chunk squirrels at once, though I haven't tested yet whether those actually stack. For now, all runes function as short 15-second damage buffs. No unique attacks or abilities yet, just different elemental flavors. Simple but effective. Activate Smite, get your buff and enjoy your temporary burst of power. Now let's move on to the sub-bosses, a handful of unique enemy types that can be found in specific locations across the map. They work a lot like the Mendicant King from before, but each one comes with its own unique loot pool. There's one odd case, Nell. Its location has been found, but for now it seems to not spawn for anyone. Meanwhile, Sinecure Errant Goth appears as a random named Banneret encounter. The others, however, are confirmed and fully active. All of these sub-bosses share one annoying trait: a 3-hour respawn timer. You can bypass that though if you have friends who invite you into their sessions where the boss is already alive again. Here are a few of the key sub-boss drops. Thrice Bound Impet drops the Mockery armor set, Kabotcha drops the Bromius armor pieces and the Marrowsbane cleaver, Waste Breath drops the Wetroot staff and the talisman Wizard Swish, and yes, that name sounds straight out of a Warhammer Orc Shaman's toolkit, and the Weaver reportedly drops Witan. On top of that, players have reported that Waste Breath, Discharged Nimrod and the Weaver are the most reliable sources for rune drops. The sub-bosses aren't the only new things worth hunting down. There are also a few other key items and sets scattered throughout the update. First, the new starter armor sets. You should either already have them in your inventory or be able to purchase them from the respective factions. Tessat, Staltion and Luras should drop from Armored Mockeries, though I haven't personally seen any of them drop yet. There are also several new talismans found in chests across Glade and Ode Dungeon as well as in the overworld. And finally, the sword Dewelion. It actually drops from the new siege event. Here's how it works. The siege takes place in the Kerhold fortress, in the center region of the map. If you look up toward the castle and see a red balloon floating above it, that means the event is active and you can start the siege. Or more accurately, the skirmish given its scale. Here's a full route. Don't go through the front gate, it will slam shut right before you. Instead, head to the side entrance and clear out all enemies, including the first banneret stationed there. One of them should drop a key, which you will need to pick up manually from the ground. Unlock the door and move deeper through the side entrance, where you will encounter a second banneret and several archers in the courtyard. Defeat them all, then loot the second key they drop. Use that key to advance upward. Activate the device to lower the ladder, climb to the top floor and pull the final lever before engaging the boss. This boss drops the Dewelion sword parts you are looking for. Joinery drops also have been rebalanced in this update. You will likely notice different joinery types appearing in new areas and events. You will now also have a more consistent source for them, thanks to the new sub-bosses that can drop joineries regularly. Finally, blessed joineries now share the same stat values as polished variants. The only difference is that blessed joineries will switch your weapon's virtue attunement when applied. Verminia finally got an upgrade. She can now bestitch your equipment, effectively acting as a transmog system. She offers 3 slots, letting you override the look of your current armor, leg and helm with any piece you already own. Each transmog costs 1 moonsteel thread, and you start with 3 by default. You can buy more from world traders using premium currency, but keep in mind that the same currency is also needed to expand your weapon slot limit. If you skip that expansion, you will eventually have to dismantle weapons to make room for new ones. In the future, those stitching tokens will also be available for real money, which has already drawn some criticism. Paying to change armor appearance isn't exactly popular, but for now, that's the system. There's also a new color dyeing option for armor. To craft new hues, you'll need pigments, which can be purchased from enclaves or earned from Verminia through quests. The actual dye ingredients come from harvesting new plants scattered throughout the world. They act as the base materials used to create each color variation. Last but not least, let's talk about the new pact you can unlock, Bromius. To start the questline, you will first need to complete the Brewer of Hues chain, which includes defeating Nimrod and finishing that storyline. Once that's done, head to the marked area. There you will find a tree with blood-like resin seeping from its bark. On the ground in front of it lies a dirt mound. Interact with it to collect a special quest item. Take that item back to Verminia. She will trigger a dream sequence and officially begin the Bromius Pact questline. From there, you will progress through several quest stages, each marked with circular areas on your map. At one point, you will also need to find trees with the same strange markings, the same resin drips and bear claw scars carved into their trunks. These aren't highlighted in a specific search zone, but they are all located within the woods surrounding the force field you encounter during the quest. Sadly, I didn't record the full chain, so that's as much detail as I can confirm for now. I'm currently working on a Bromius Pact spotlight and build guide, so if you are curious how it performs once unlocked, keep an eye out for that video soon. Until then, I hope this helped and you get your bearings in Preludes 11. If it did, a like and a sub are always appreciated. See you soon in Soulframe.